of the anterior lobe and the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. Now all of you must know that what are the hormones. Now in physiology also, growth hormone, thyroid hormone, corticotrophic hormone, melanocyte stimulating hormone, prolactin hormone, all these hormones you must be knowing that. So now what are the blood supply of the pituitary that we have already discussed? Blood supply. What is the blood supply? Via the arteries. There are two nomenclature, superior hypophyseal artery, and the inferior hypophyseal artery. Inferior hypophyseal artery, it is single. A very important point. Inferior hypophyseal artery, it is single in number and it is more than one. This superior hypophyseal artery. And both these arteries are branch of which artery? The internal carotid artery. Internal carotid artery. Okay? The venous drainage of this pituitary gland, it drains into the venous drainage into the cavernous sinus. Into the cavernous sinus are the anterior intercavernous sinus or the posterior intercavernous sinus. Posterior intercavernous sinus. So these are the venous sinus. Nerve supply. The neuronal connections that we have discussed of the posterior lobe. That was the nerve supply of the pituitary gland. Now come to the applied aspect of this pituitary gland. What should be the applied aspect of this pituitary gland? Have you heard the name of craniopharyngioma? Craniopharyngioma. And what it is, craniopharyngioma? When this that's why I have discussed the development of the pituitary gland earlier. This was the Rathke's pouch, the tubular structure, detached part of the stomodium. Okay, Rathke's pouch. Suppose this is the sphenoid bone and the Rathke's pouch, the roof of the stomodium. It is invaginating this body of the sphenoid. This is the sphenoid bone here. Okay, and when this Rathke's pouch from the nasopharynx towards the sphenoid bone, and there will be a canal here. There will be a canal here in the sphenoid bone. There will be a gap so that this invagination goes inside by breaking through this gap in between the sphenoid bone, the invagination goes in the cranial cavity. Okay, which is known as the craniopharyngeal canal. What it is known as? Craniopharyngeal canal. Craniopharyngeal canal it is. So what happens? Sometimes these Rathke's pouch persist here in the and forms a tumor over the sphenoid bone. When the diverticulum moves inside the sphenoid bone, just above the body of the sphenoid bone, and the rapid growth of the sphenoid bone, it is seen here. And when this Rathke's pouch forms a tumor on the body of the sphenoid, it is known as the craniopharyngioma. Okay, because Rathke's pouch is moving where? Upwards. Another condition, and this condition it is known as craniopharyngioma. That means the Rathke's pouch, when it is forming the tumor in the body of the sphenoid, it is known as the craniopharyngioma. Another aspect you will see, in spite of moving above Rathke's pouch, it is moving backside in the nasopharynx, all of the nasopharynx. It should be present here in the hypophyseal fossa here, but it is remaining where? It is the moving back side in the roof of the nasopharynx, and there it will be from the hypophyseal, nasopharynx hypophyseal, nasopharyngeal hypophysis. Okay, that means hypophysis cerebri, where it is present in the roof of the nasopharynx. Now, what are the tumors of the pituitary gland? What are the tumors here? What are the commonest tumor of the pituitary gland? It is the pituitary adenoma. Pituitary adenoma. And these pituitary adenoma, it is from the mainly by the chromophobic cells of the adrenal anterior lobe. Chromophobic cells, okay, which forms the pituitary adenoma. Suppose here is the pituitary gland, and when there will be tumor of this gland, what it will happen? The size of the gland increases due to the presence of tumor, this adenoma, and it will produce two types of symptoms here. One, it is pressure symptoms. Another, it is the rest of the neurological symptoms or the endocrinal symptoms of the pituitary gland itself. Now, this adenoma, what it will do? Intracellular growth. First on the pituitary cell, this is the sella turcica here. When the size of the gland will increase, when you will take the plain X-ray of the skull, the lateral view, you will see the hypophyseal fossa, the size is increased because there is an intracellular growth of this tumor. So you confirm it by the lateral view of the skull X-ray. You will get it the ballooning of the sella turcica here. What you will get? Ballooning here. Ballooning of the sella turcica. Okay. In the pituitary adenoma. What else? What other pressure symptoms you will get? Either side, I have already discussed the relations. What is this? Cavernous sinus. Yes, cavernous sinus along with its content. So, when the pressure decreases, the adjacent structures are compressed, and that's why there is the ophthalmoplagia. Ophthalmoplagia plus exophthalmos. These two conditions are due to the pressure symptoms of this pituitary adenoma. Exophthalmos and the ophthalmoplagia, because in the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus there are the third, the fourth, the divisions of the sixth of the cranial nerves are present, which are the motor nerves for the extraocular muscles of the eyeball, isn't it? So, they were due to the pressure symptoms. What else? Sometimes, mainly above, what is there? I have said there is the optic chiasma. When due to the increased size of this gland, what it will do? It will also compress the optic chiasma. The central portion of the optic chiasma, it is compressed here. Look, and that is leading to the bitemporal heteronymous hemianopia. Here, these are the orbital cavity. What are these fibers? These are the nasal fibers. These are the nasal fibers, and these are the temporal fibers. Okay, and this is the optic chiasma. The nasal fibers cross. Okay, at the optic chiasma, the nasal fibers cross each other. See, when there is the pituitary adenoma, when the size of this pituitary adenoma, it will press the optic chiasma, the central portion of that. that means it will disturbing the nasal fibers only. Look the diagram here. The nasal fibers, it is not pressing the temporal fibers, it is pressing the nasal fibers which are crossing each other here, and that's why it is lead to bitemporal. Nasal field will carry what? The temporal region. So bitemporal, heteronymous hemianopia it will produce. Which type of visual defect it will produce due to the pressure symptoms? It will produce bitemporal heteronymous hemianopia. Nasal fibers carry the temporal field of vision of the opposite side. So it will lead to the bitemporal heteronymous hemianopia. Okay. So this was the pressure symptoms. What